The Power Hour is live. KFAN.com/watch is where you can find it. It's all brought to you by Quantum Fiber. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe to the Fan on YouTube. Quantum Fiber, your world unleashed.
All right, Parker Fox is in the building. He'll be up here in a second. Until then, should we start Fan 5?
Yeah, man.
Other things to discuss, shall we?
It's time for Fan 5, brought to you by Builders and Remodelers.
Hey, thanks, Builders and Remodelers. Ben, you weren't here earlier when we talked about Caitlin Clark. Not only is she getting an 8-figure deal from Nike, she also had a really weird question from Greg Doyle, a press conference that went viral because she was up there getting introduced as a member of the Indiana Fever. And then Greg Doyle got all weird and creepy. Maybe you saw it, right?
I did not see it. I just heard you guys describe it with great detail.
Zach, maybe we can pull up that audio. By the way, we can get Parker in on this as well.
Greg Doyle, Indy Star.
Here it is.
Real quick, let me do this.
You like that?
I like that you're here. That you're here.
I do that at my family after every game, so.
Okay,
it's
well,
pretty
let's
cool.
start doing it to me and we'll get along just fine. So, question is, you
know, people think the end of it's cringe where he says, start doing that to me and we'll get along just fine. I still think an adult man doing the heart symbol to a 22-year-old girl is bizarre.
The creepiest part is...
What a weirdo.
I like that you're here.
I like that you're
That's
here.
Buffalo Bill-like.
Parker Fox of the Golden Gopher basketball team joins. Hi, Parker. I just wanted to do this to you, if you don't mind.
I like the heart there a little bit. Actually, Dawson Garcia showed that video to me yesterday in the locker room. It was a little creepy.
Creepy, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Nice to meet you, by the way. I wasn't here the first time you were in, but I heard rave reviews about your first appearance on the show, 5 months ago, whenever you were on.
We're back. We're better.
Right on, man. Good to see you.
I love it. Yeah.
Ben, were you here? Did you meet Parker yet or not?
No.
Parker, Ben Lieber.
Yeah. Good to meet you.
Parker Fox.
There we go.
Right on. That's just creepy and cringy.
Yeah,
that's a weird bit.
Well, apparently, if you kind of scroll some of the comments too, he's kind of a creepy dude not creepy, but just kind of one of these guys in the indie market that's always doing just ridiculous things and always thinking that he's funnier than what he is. So it seems like it's on par if you follow him and know him. I think on the outside looking in, if this is my first introduction to him, I'd be like, all right, I don't know if it's creepy. It's just a guy he's a try-hard. Like, oh, you're just trying way too hard. Like, swing and a miss. I don't think you need to get canceled. I don't think it's super, super weird. But
how about this? But I think he's so aware that he's on the brink of getting canceled that 13 hours ago he tweeted, "Today in my uniquely oafish way, while welcoming Caitlin Clark to Indy, I formed my hand into her signature heart. My comment afterward was clumsy and awkward. I sincerely apologize. Please know my heart, literally and figuratively, was well-intentioned. I will do better." Well, 10 hours ago, he posted a column, and his headline on Twitter to link to the story just says, "Caitlin Clark, I'm so sorry. Today, I was part of the problem."
Yeah, so I saw that second apology, and I think it's interesting that, and maybe, I don't know, I guess I don't follow Caitlin on X, but I'm assuming she's on X. He doesn't tag her at all, doesn't do at Caitlin Clark, just puts her name. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like, wouldn't she just directly, yeah, she's on Caitlin Clark 22. 330,000 people that follow. Why wouldn't you, if you are sincere about what you're doing, why don't you just tag her so you at least know she's going to see it and her representatives will see it? That's I think a more of a true public apology, but he can't even do that right.
Yeah, it was weird. You just, as we talked about this morning, Patrick Royce's not going to do that to Parker Fox in a press conference.
Oh my God, I would pay to see that.
Right.
Yeah, that would be...
Well, Parker,
right.
I'm just happy you're here.
That's a really good Royce.
Happy,
but you're not.
I just love that you're here.
Okay, now it's getting weird. But yeah, it's just weird.
I'm working on that.
That was really
It's
good.
a little bit just like my Brian Johnson from AC/DC, just holding one note.
Yeah, it's
and
very
then saying
good,
Parker's name.
That might be worse than the heart. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Your
creepy.
thoughts? You're a college athlete.
I don't know. We talked about it in the locker room. I think so often with the media, it's like they try to relate, to you, and they want to kind of, you could get that inside kind of side to you, so they have that relationship with you. But sometimes when it's a guy in that position, it's like, dude, you're kind of just doing a little too much, and stay away from that.
I mean, in a way, it's like these local broadcasters and the guys that are on the sports beat. Let's just say, for in this situation, we're talking about Indiana. In Indianapolis, you get introduced to whether it's the Colts' first-round draft pick that's coming up, Caitlin Clark, whatever it is. You're sort of starting a relationship, like you're dating a little bit. And for him to come out on date one and act like that,
I love you.
Yeah, like, I love you, Caitlin.
Yeah, right.
It's like you're never
that you're here.
right. You're never she's never going to trust him ever again.
Yeah.
Like if he thinks that this is his way of like, little bro banter and like, hey, we're just kind of like hanging out. We're buds, and you can trust me and I'm just kind of a cool guy.
She doesn't know
over
who
here.
you are.
She doesn't know who you are.
And that's the other thing. It's like, all right, Parker, right now you're on our show, right? This is our turf. We're glad to have you here, right? But if Caitlin Clark had come into this show, the Power Trip Morning Show, that's kind of the point. It's let's be friendly. Let's all get to know each other, right? It's our moment. You're on our show. This is our turf, but we're super pumped that you're here. That press conference is her moment. It's not Greg's chance to. No. Caitlin and I need to bond, right? No, it's not your moment at all. You can meet her over the next handful of years while you're covering the Fever. This is her moment.
Slow play it a little bit.
How about just ask her questions? This should have nothing to do with Greg Doyle. And now, of course, the last 24 hours it is. Paul, your hands up.
Now, on the flip side, how much money do we have to give Zach for if the Vikings draft J.J. McCarthy?
Oh, God, I would love that. Just
to
do the
press
hard.
conference.
Oh, my God.
I'm glad you're here.
That is your best idea. That might be your one idea for the year.
Right. Like, like it's on NFL Network and Zach just goes, I'm glad
you're here. And just the heart, hands the whole time.
I'm glad you're what?
Here. Oh. And then if JJ says, do you have a question? He doesn't even have to say yes. Just, I love you.
Yeah.
I'm just glad you're here.
Okay, so
that's your one good idea for the year. Now, if they don't draft J.J. McCarthy, though, then you don't have a good idea yet.
That's okay.
Then you have 8 months to come up with a good idea for the year.
I'll come up with another one.
Will you?
By Christmas.
Then you were going to say
something.
Well,
I was just going to try to bring this back to Parker and the fact that, I think in basketball, you guys are in the spotlight from such a young age. At what point in time did you, obviously, even just sitting here for just 5 minutes, I can tell you're very comfortable in front of a microphone and all this whole medium, but like, when did you feel comfortable being in front of the camera, talking to media? Did you have training? Did you guys have ongoing training with the Gophers? How is that all handled, and how did it work for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different for everybody. I think for me, I'm kind of an outgoing guy that enjoys this kind of stuff. I think this is like the most fun because it's like just sitting around with a bunch of guys talking sports and having fun. And then when it comes to like media, they're asking you questions, and that's easy for me, but it doesn't come easy for everybody, which is weird to me because I think, you're talking about your game, you're talking about yourself. Like this should come easy, but some guys it doesn't. I never had any specific training or anything like that. I think it's just like, it's something that I enjoy. I've always enjoyed talking. I always enjoyed dialogue. This is basically the same thing as sitting around on the couch at night and just, having a conversation about the latest, news, but you're just doing it to a microphone. So I think it's just something that I've always enjoyed.
Did you ever have an awkward line of questioning? I'm not saying somebody made a pass at you or made hand gestures, but did you ever have somebody try to put you in the corner or some kind of awkward, question or two?
Usually it comes from like an opposite team media member for the most part, whether they like saw something during the game that they didn't like, or maybe they saw something on your Twitter that they didn't like, and I would say it's more on like Twitter when you get somebody that's tweeting at you, then I think some people are kind of sometimes afraid to actually ask you in person, and then they'll go and tweet it after the interview or something like that. So nothing too awkward. I think other guys have had more awkward situations, but I don't know. I just try to, like, if there's something awkward, just divert it and, the classic media PR response.
Yeah, sure.
Just,
All right, well, let's do Fan 5 because one thing that we haven't really discussed at all is Gopher basketball related, shall we? You already hit it, right?
Yes.
Am I forgetting? That was like 5 minutes ago. That's when he was walking in.
It was 9 minutes ago.
9 minutes ago. Time flies when you're having fun. Gopher basketball got a transfer. Now, are you allowed to talk about this stuff or not? I don't know how this works. Can you comment on the new player, or do you have to stay
I think
quiet?
I think I can say that we recruited him.
Okay, I don't know if I don't want to put you in a bad spot. Anyway, the Gopher basketball team got Frank Mitchell from Canisius, 6'8", 240.
That's a huge bitch.
12.1 points a game, 11.6 rebounds a game. That's fourth in the country. Obviously, Pharrell Payne leaving with the portal. So, man, if this is the case, and you can comment on it, I don't know if you can, on paper, that's a pretty big spot to fill, a double-double machine, this guy, Frank Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, Pharrell is a guy that does a lot of things for us. He's huge, obviously, as well. So you need to replace size in the Big Ten, and I think is what I can say is that we're recruiting the kids. So, yeah.
Got it.
Well said. Well said.
Thanks,
Do you guys talk portal at all?
as a team?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, especially now, like 3 years ago, no, but now it's like, it's all the conversation. And it's more honestly about the money too. The money side of it is how much you think this guy's getting, how much you think. And we're a pretty close group, under our table, and we, we're not afraid to tell each other and, discuss it with each other just because we're an open, close group. But, when you talk about a new kid coming in, it's like you're not really comfortable with him yet, so it's a little weird to be like, how much money did you get?
But did you have any sense that Pharrell was thinking about going?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think that whole sophomore class, Pharrell, Braden, and Josh, we kind of knew towards the end of the year that they definitely were thinking about it, and then obviously some things take you blindsided when they all just kind of up and do it, but it's definitely something that you can sense. I think for me too, as one of the leaders and captains, it's like, you try to rein it in for the last, couple weeks, but sometimes guys have their mind made up, and it's, you got to hope that they're doing what's best for them.
I'm not trying to compare the Gophers to the national champion Connecticut Huskies, but I heard Dan Hurley on with Dan Patrick.
Yeah.
And he basically said he had to sell the entire team. Like, look, I know the portal's out there. I know there's NIL money out there. I don't even care if you guys leave, but we have a chance to run this back and go back to back for the first time. No one's done it since Florida almost, 15, 16, 17 years ago. So if you can just swallow your pride for a year, we can really do this again and be historic. And he said they got everybody on the same page and they did it. Does it suck a little bit that you have the Izzos of the world saying, man, this Gopher team, if they can stay together, they got some experience, they got depth, they got some skills, they got some NBA talents, right? Like Cam Christie. You got some people here that are legit. Mm-hmm. They just got to stay together. And then as soon as the season ends, you have 3 or 4 of you hit the portal and leave. And you're like, oh, man, why can't they just keep this team together? It's frustrating.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think it's cool when Tom Izzo says it, but ultimately when you truly believe it and then it happens, it sucks even more. So, we definitely were in a spot where hey, man, I try to relay that message. We lost Michigan State in the first round of the Big Ten tournament, but we bring everybody back. We get a couple kids in. We find a transfer here or there. There's no reason why we're not in top of this conference, especially with the way things move nowadays. So, I tried to relay that message as much as I could. That was kind of, Ben's main message is, hey, let's run this thing back. But, guys make their own personal decisions, and, they're still family. So you hope that they make the right ones,
So I've never really dove into the whole transfer portal process, and how does it actually work these days? Because I feel like the NCAA has just kind of lost control of this thing.
Oh yeah.
If you are a player and you're thinking, okay, I don't know, maybe I should just go elsewhere and I need to transfer. Is it as easy as walking into, I don't know, the compliance office or whatever and say yep, I want to transfer. Here's my application, and you just go? Is it just that open?
Yeah, there's not even an application. You just go into compliance and say, put me in the transfer portal. You don't even have to tell your coach, which is the craziest thing. And I think that's more of a respect thing. And I think all of the guys on our team obviously did that. But you can just walk up to compliance and say, hey, put me in the transfer portal. And then you'll get an email. Because I did it when I was leaving Northern State. And you'll get an email about an hour later, and then your phone starts to ring, and it's random numbers calling you and schools calling you, so
it really is just an open market free agency.
It's literally free agency.
Can you explain the timeline? Because this is something that Dan Patrick and Dan Hurley were talking about as well. Hurley compared it to the draft, and the way that the analogy he was trying to use is that the longer you stay in the tournament, other teams that are dropping off, those are the players that enter the portal. So it's almost like the teams that are out of the tournament get the first crack at the available players. Is that
No, you're exactly right.
Pretty close as well?
You're exactly right. But now with this NIL money, a lot of the teams that are out early probably don't have the same NIL budget as the teams that are still competing. So you can start recruiting kids, but if it's like a big time name, then it's going to be hard to recruit him with your NIL budget compared to now Arkansas's got a $6 million NIL budget or whatever it is. So, yeah, you're right. And if teams are playing, like, I think that kid still can enter the portal if he's on a team, but you're probably not because you're making a championship run. You're like, maybe I got a chance to win a championship here. So. Right.
Can I follow up real quick on the NIL? Because again, it's cloudy to me in how it all works. Mm-hmm. Do you as an individual player get a check from the collective? Is it put into your student account? Is it paid weekly, biweekly, monthly? Like when you secure an NIL deal, who are you talking to? How does the payments get made? And how ultimately is the money transferred back and forth?
Yeah, obviously I could do an NIL deal with, let's say, Al's Breakfast.
That'd be great.
I was there. I was there yesterday morning, man.
If I knew you could get money in college, I would have gone to college. If you could get money,
who was
going to
give you money?
Al's Breakfast.
You got to do something though.
No, that's overrated. Doing things is overrated.
You're not getting NIL money for playing MLB this show.
Oh, but I'm good at it.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, you were saying
I'm talking.
No, but I mean, like Alice can say, hey, we'll give you, let's say, $1,000 to do an Instagram post and a TikTok once a month or something like that. That's like your NIL deal, you with Al's. There's no middleman. Now you got collectives. You got, for us, Dinkytown athletes, and they raise all their money and kind of work with coach and say, hey, how much does it take to get Dustin Garcia back? How much does it take to get Elijah Hawkins back, Mike Mitchell, Parker Fox, whatever it may be? And they can work with you, and then once you kind of solve a number that you like, each school does it differently probably, but at the U we do 50% is paid out right away, and then there's basically a payment plan through the rest of the year. I think it's a smart way to do it because, one, you get to see that money. It's like, okay, that's real. And then also it's, a 19-year-old sees whatever it is, $100,000. They're probably going to, start spending a little bit. So it's smart to kind of do that little payment plan throughout the season.
Is it just during the season? Because I guess if you transfer, then it's just gone. So it's only paid out during the season.
Yeah, that's what for ours was at least. Yeah. So we'll have an April deal. And then get that money, and then when the season starts, you go down the line. So,
but if you as an individual walked into Al's and Al's is like, hey man, we want to do a deal separately, that's completely separate and on your own. You don't have to report that or go to
no. Yeah, you just have to make sure compliance is cool. So there's some rules, like you can't do a deal with FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever it is.
Right.
You can't do gambling, can't do alcohol, and now with cannabis being legal, you can't do that kind of stuff. But
what about strip clubs?
I don't know about strip clubs.
Sauce, you would have wanted that NIL deal to Deja Vu back in the day.
Hell yeah!
I mean, I'm just thinking about going to Al's Breakfast. I wasn't really listening.
That's how you know you're getting older. But you just want breakfast.
I'd rather go to Al's Breakfast.
100%. Same, not even
strip
close.
Strip clubs are overrated.
100%.
It's a waste of time and
money.
money.
Give me breakfast. I want a waffle.
I'm not doing that.
What is your Al's order?
I get one blueberry pancake because it's elite.
Oh,
it's the best
time.
pancake. Even Gavin Case, on who I ripped one time, said it's maybe the best item in the state. It's that good. I get the spike with 2 eggs and garlic and all that, and then I get some toast and a cup of coffee.
Augusto, sweetheart, save some room for later.
Elite.
Jesus.
You go hard.
Oh, I do. I go hard in the paint, man. Yeah, you look out if I'm ever in there with you. I'm not going to out-rebound you for a stool.
Hey, as long as I get the one at the end where there's a little extra leg room, that's my go-to. But no, you can do whatever. And that's the best way to do it, right? So you can, if you feel confident enough to, look at contracts and, bargain with somebody about how much you should make off of TikTok or whatever. And now guys have agents too, where it's like, that they can help them out. Yeah. But now your agent's taking usually 20%.
Yeah, 20%
market, which is way too high.
I'll do it for 15. I'll be your agent for 15.
It's crazy, but that's been sort of a standard marketing commission is 20%.
It's just too high. It's like
it's way too high,
especially with guys like myself. Now there's some elite guys where it's like, you probably need, like Caitlin Clark needed an agent. Angel Reese, those kind of people need an agent. But for me, when I'm dealing with local, little deals here and there, why give somebody 20%? I think, and our coaches push for that too, where it's like, dude, you're the one that's making this. Why give 20% to somebody else? So.
Yep. All right, more with Parker Fox after this, more with Ben Lieber after this. In about 10 minutes, we'll talk to Micah Nori, assistant coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Game 1 of the Suns-Wolves series, Saturday, 2:30, right here on The Fan. But more with Parker and Ben after this on The Fan.
The Fan.
Join us
us tomorrow for a pre-draft Friday football feast this week at Buffalo Wild Wings in Savage. Doors open at 8 a.m. ahead of a live 9 to noon broadcast with PA and Charch. Join us for football, wings, and prizes. Find out more info at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
All right, in like a minute and a half, we're going to call Micah Nori, assistant coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, ask him about the Suns Wolves series. But before that, Ben Lieber is still here. Ben, we got like 15 minutes with you. Parker Fox is here of the Gopher basketball team. Good to meet you, dude. And you're coming back.
I am.
You're coming back.
I'm going to be an 8th-year senior next year.
8th-year senior.
That's
you
awesome.
know, a lot of people go to school for 8 years.
They're called doctors.
Do we still have that soundbite or not?
It's got to be somewhere.
That's such a
Hang
good
on, let me
bit.
see if I can find that. Tommy Boy.
Sauce, what would you have done with 8 years of?
Oh, dear God.
Oh, God, I would have smoked so much
Oh, here it is.
things.
Here it
and
is.
Drank and gone to hell.
Did you hear I finally graduated?
Yeah, just a shade under a decade, too. All right.
You know, a lot of people go to college for 7 years.
I know. They're called doctors.
Oh, you have a master's, though, don't you?
I do have a master's.
Okay, so then it's not like you're 8 years in and you're still taking...
That would be brutal.
That would be brutal.
That would be brutal. No, I got the master's in 6, and then last year I slowed down and did some non-degree seeking. I took...
It's an interesting phrase.
Yeah, some non-degree seeking graduate level classes. I took sexual pleasures and intimacy.
Excuse
and,
me?
Naturistic healing.
Could you
I
give
got a
the
D in
Cliff
that.
Notes to Sauce?
Oh,
Wow, they have that at the University of Minnesota.
I don't
They do.
need that.
Yeah, they
Wow.
do. Learned a lot.
Was Greg Doyle from the Indy Star in that
He
class?
should have been.
Jeez.
What's the ratio of guys to girls in that class?
How many
I feel
trench coats are worn
I think
in
I was
that
the only
class?
guy in that class. Yeah, I think I was the only guy in that class. It was.
Wow, advantage you, though.
Yeah, but I mean, it was also online, and it was, you met one time, so it wasn't anything, But
Oh, can you imagine the
What a
dudes outside of
life.
Parker? Can you imagine the dudes that signed up for an online sex class?
Rosie.
Rosie. I'm graduating. Ugh. Okay, Mark.
Yeah, calm down, Rosie.
What a weirdo. God.
All right, guys, your assignment this week is to go on this thing called Pornhub, and you're going
Rosie'd
to have
be
to
like,
do
"I'm
some
done."
research.
Finish.
Aced that class.
Yes.
Interesting.
yeah, the nature class, it was that was an interesting one too. There was one assignment where I had to go find a river, and I had to report what I saw in the river and any species that moved and how they moved. And didn't really see a whole lot of fish swimming down the river, so I kind of struggled in that class. But yeah, that was an interesting one.
Look, I hate doing this because you're here and you're nice and you're from the University of Minnesota. I went to the University of Minnesota. Man, this college thing is a scam.
What a waste.
Well, yeah, when you're in your 10th year.
I know he's on scholarship, but like if you're paying to go,
I couldn't imagine.
You're paying to go look at a river and go write down what you see. If you don't see any fish, just report back to me.
Do you guys do paper mache out there too?
And by the way, this class is $4,500. What?
It's insane.
Go look at a river for free.
Right.
All right.
Watercolors.
All right, let's transition. Look, we don't get a lot of deep runs in the NBA in this town, but we're looking at one this year. It looks like it's possible. The Wolves just had their second best regular season in history, 56 or so wins. Almost had a shot at the number 1 seed. We end up falling to number 3, and we're facing the Phoenix Suns. They're favored. The Suns are favored on DraftKings to win the series. It's going to be a tough test. Let's talk to Micah Nori about the matchup. Micah Nori is the assistant coach for the Minnesota Timberwolves and kind of a cult icon. Micah, you are beloved because of your in between quarters interviews on Bally Sports North. Everybody seems to love you.
I think that, like I say, I always tell people it must be a slow day in sports if that's what gets everybody going on those halftime interviews. But no, they're fun, and try to keep it light a little bit and keep some people entertained.
All right, this is a tough matchup. I know you guys are ready for the Suns, but what did you see on Sunday that you can change by Saturday? What do the Suns bring to the table that give this team specific problems?
I think, number one, just the matchups in general. And what I mean by that is we play big, and we've been very good at it all year with Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gay both starting. And then they play Kevin Durant at the 4. So that makes them somewhat small with his skill set. So I think we can move around some of the matchups, look at different matchups and different people on those guys. That's helped us immensely. The other thing, too, is we have to make sure that we know that Booker and Durant are going to do what they do. It's very interesting. They both average 27 points apiece, and they both average 27 points in wins and losses. So basically what that tells you is they're going to score and they're going to do what they do. So that means we have to pay more attention to those guys such as the Grayson Allens, who led the NBA in three-point shooting, and Bradley Beal, who's averaged 25 points against us in the 2 games that he's played, in the 3 games that we've played overall this season. So looking at some of those matchups, that's the first thing they present. The second thing that they do a great job of is they're a very fast starting team, and they've outscored us over the course of 3 games by an average of 14 points in the first quarter, including the 44-22 that you saw at the end of the regular season here just last Sunday. So we got to make sure that out of the gate, we got to be ready to meet their push that they try to do, and we should be ready for all that.
Coach, what do you guys do about it? It seems to be that the Suns are the one team that kind of boxes up Anthony Edwards so he can't drive to the basket and dominate like he has all year. What do they do differently that a lot of teams don't do to him?
Basically, they just sell out for 48 minutes, and that sounds like a very blanket statement. But basically what they do is anytime he's in pick and roll, they put 2 people on him. So the man that who's ever defending the guy that sets the screen, they'll just basically blitz or trap and put 2 on him there. So that's what forces him to get off it, which is the right play, and then we should be able to get open shots behind it. And the other thing they do is when he catches on the wing and in isolation, they basically everybody calls it boxes and elbows. So, right the paint, there's going to be 2 guys there on either side of the free throw line and 2 guys on either side of the lane down on the blocks. And so he's looking at a crowd. So what that means that we have to do is we have to help Ant as far as get him in space. So maybe it's off of a pass-pass combination where he can go and catch, those type of things where you can get him downhill and he can attack before that defense is set. The other thing that we can look to do is, and we haven't been great at it this year, but we need to run more in transition, because then if they're getting back and trying to get matched up, there's some gaps there that he can attack. And but to do all that, number one, you got to get stops, and that's what's been our problem against Phoenix in 2 of the 3 games. But we can do some things to get him into space so that he's always not looking at 2 guys on the ball and then another 3 in a triangle behind him.
You talked earlier about how the Suns get off to a fast start. How can you slow that down? What did you see on tape and your scouting this week that you guys can attack them with and slow them down?
I think it's a very good question. I think it's a 2-part. Number one, we got to take care of the basketball. We had 11 turnovers in the first quarter of that Sunday game, and anytime you turn it over, especially what they call live ball turnovers, where it's not a ball that's going out of bounds or a charge and they have to take it out of bounds, it's where bad pass or you get stripped on a drive, and now it ends up to like an odd man rush. So it's a 3-on-1 or a 2-on-1 or just an empty layup. So number one, they thrive on those type of opportunities. And then the other thing that we can do is, it sounds silly, but we've got to be able to make shots. And when you make shots, now they're taking the ball out of bounds, so that slows them up. And then the last thing would be when the shot goes up, if you're not in a position to go to the offensive glass and you're above the break or above that 3-point line out towards the middle of the floor, you've got to get back so we can set our half-court defense. And that's where they've really hurt us in those first quarters. I think they had 8 or 9 fast break points in the first quarter, and they ended up with like 13 for the game. And so even when you look at Sundays, we chip it down to about 9 or 10, an opportunity to cut it down below those single digits. And you just spend so much time and energy doing that, we could just never get over the hump. But we got to make sure, number one, we take care of the ball. Number 2, we get back on misses. And then obviously anytime we can score the basketball, that helps us as well.
So, Coach, you guys basically have a full week to get ready for this game, and this is a team that has had your guys' number. How do you guys and what do you guys do psychologically with the players to get their minds right, to sort of flush everything that happened in the regular season and get ready for this first playoff game?
You can go about it in different ways. It's funny because I think it reminds you a little bit of, I'm sure you all remember Lou Holtz, who was a Minnesota football coach up here, but I always laugh with him. They'd always talk about on Monday, you were getting ready to play the greatest team that ever was assembled. By Tuesday, it was a really good team. And then by Thursday, Friday, Saturday, there was no way you could lose to that team. So in other words, I think there is some psychological to it because of the fact that, number one, we showed them what we did and what they did to us. Excuse me. And then, and why they beat us. Number 2, then we start showing them what we can do to counteract that and make sure we slow them down. And then the last thing is just to show them why we are going to win the series, because we are going to do these things to exploit what they've done to us. The one advantage that I feel we do have is they're not going to make many adjustments, nor should they. I mean, they've beat the heck out of us, for lack of a better term, these first 3 games. So there's a lot of adjustments that we can do. The other thing is going into Sunday, win or lose that game, I mean, it was kind of written that, Dallas was not going to beat Oklahoma City. So we were going to be either the 2 or 3 seed. And if we would have won that game, we're the 2, Phoenix most likely the 7, because New Orleans would have been 6. And then if we lose, like we did, we know it's a 3-6. Point being, Phoenix was going to be the matchup, so we didn't want to show an awful lot, if that type of makes sense. So there's some things that we can do that they haven't seen that hopefully will help us. And as you know, just game 1 will be very, very important to get that one at home and then and be off and running in the series.
Coach, obviously looking forward to the playoffs, but we've been talking some NIL transfer portal up here. Kind of curious to get your take. Now these guys are making all this money in college and NIL. How do you think that kind of transfers over to almost the rookie duties that, guys have to kind of serve as they're coming into the NBA now that, they've maybe made $600,000-$700,000 and now you kind of got to take a step back and be that rookie again. How do you think guys kind of comprehend that? And do you think that it'll impact relationships on NBA rosters?
Good question. I think it will impact. The only reason why I say that it will impact is because a lot of times it's, you see it across even the NBA. We've seen it in our daily lives. To me, when guys get money, and even in college, they get a little bit more money, you become more, your personality shows even more. You become bigger what you are. So my point is, if you're a generous person, you're a good kid, and you got a little bit more money, then you become more generous. You're passing out more. If you got a chip on your shoulder, you're a little bit more arrogant, then you become more arrogant, like you're untouchable. So that will not bode well, the latter, for those kids that come in with that chip on their shoulder, because you're walking into a team, and there's usually only 1 or 2 rookies, and you're walking into a team where there's going to be 15 to 16 veterans who've been through it and done it, and there's a whole lot of alphas in that room that have been exactly where this young kid coming into is. It's not like he's the head dog anymore. So it will be a rude awakening if they're not, if they don't try to fit in as trying to oppose their will or be disrespectful or arrogant. And it's not a hazing thing. I mean, that's kind of gone down quite a bit in the NBA, but it's just different things like, hey, grab a veteran shoes, or make sure you have donuts, or you're carrying a Dora the Explorer backpack or something. So those type of things, I'm sure there'll be a little bit of pushback, and the NIL obviously is not going to help that at all. So there's definitely going to be some 1 or 2 for daggone sure that don't fit in as well because of the NIL.
All right, final question for Micah Nori, Wolves assistant coach. Thanks for joining, by the way, of course. The game is 2:30 this Saturday. Outside of maybe like a random MLK Day or maybe a Christmas Day game, a 2:30 start is obviously an oddity. Give me the pros and cons of playing a game at 2:30 as opposed to an evening game for a playoff series.
Yeah, another good question. I think the biggest one that I'm banking on is that's 12:30 Phoenix time. So maybe they're not all awake yet when we roll the ball out. But the one thing that it does do for sure is you're not sitting around and waiting all day. Until 7 o'clock. So, and basically at that point, if we have a 7 o'clock game, we'll have a walkthrough at around 10 o'clock to about 11, and the guys will eat, go home, get their rest, and come back. So there won't be a walkthrough per se. We won't get them up in the morning before the 2:30, but it'll be more of a meet at the arena, which is not as big a deal because we do have the 4 days to prepare. So everything will be in game plan wise. I think it's kind of an advantage. I do. I just think that the energy, the fresh, it'll be the first Western Conference playoff game. I think Orlando and Cleveland are before us at noon. But just with all the energy, not only with the city, but the fans and the players, they'll be chomping at the bit to get going. And I actually like the 2:30 start, especially with the week that we've had to prepare. It's not like we need the extra rest. We're coming off of a game the night before or even 2 nights ago. So guys will be ready. We normally practice around 11 or 12 anyway, so their bodies are used to getting up and going at that time. So I do think that's the positive. The one negative then would just be that, again, 85 to 90% of your games are at 7 o'clock at night, and those guys have those routines. But it's affecting both teams. I'd much rather be at home than traveling and losing the 2 hours, getting to the city here that Phoenix will have to on Friday night. But So I think that it'll be more advantages for us if you can look at it all cut and dry.
All right, Micah, we need this. We need this series. We need this win. You guys got to figure this one out. You got to do this. Appreciate the time, man. Good luck on Saturday and beyond, dude.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You got it. There's Micah Nori, assistant head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Maybe not assistant head coach. Is that what it's called? Assistant coach?
I think it's just assistant coach.
I like those guys that are assistant head coaches.
Yeah.
Or associate head coaches.
We're breaking NBA news.
Is that right?
Jimmy Butler is expected to be out several weeks with a right knee MCL injury.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's like Zion, right? I mean, whoever wins that game
is
going to get smoked by the Celtics anyway. So it would have been a better series if Butler was in it, but it doesn't really matter.
The Heat had a chance if Jimmy Butler was healthy because the Celtics are so unreliable, and the Heat they've been there and done that before as the 8-1 matchup, but not with no Jimmy Butler. It's over. It's a wrap.
Now it's time for Headlines.
Headlines brought to you by our friends at Wolf River Electric. You can go solar with Wolf River Electric. Go solar. Get those panels. All right, here we go. Parker, I don't know if you know this bit. I just read headlines and you react. You can say whatever the hell you want. Just don't say the F word. Ready?
Like me.
An 8-year-old was found driving a car in downtown St. Louis on Monday with his mother sleeping in the back seat.
Jeez.
St. Louis.
Seems responsible. She was tired.
Yeah.
Kia boys.
8 years old.
That does.
Would you rather have the 8-year-old in the back seat and the mom sleeping while driving?
Think about it.
Yeah, that's not bad, Zacho.
Just how many 8-year-olds have long enough legs to get to the pedals? I mean, Parker probably did, but you're like 9 feet tall.
Pasta Bolognese.
Pasta Bolognese definitely did.
Yeah.
A woman in Indiana was arrested after calling 911 to complain that her drug dealer sold her a bad batch of meth.
I mean,
reasonable complaint.
We hear these all the time. Like, that's the negotiation. What's the word I'm looking for? Leverage the drug dealer has. What are you going to do? Call the police?
File a complaint at the Better Business Bureau?
Correct. Yeah. This woman did.
Which is what I do.
That's the person that's doing meth.
Yeah, correct.
Most people want to live to be 90 years old or longer, but 2/3 of people out there surveyed would take a shorter, healthier life over a longer one with more health issues.
Correct.
I think it's pretty obvious, right? Wouldn't you rather live to 80 but healthy than 95 but you're just falling apart the entire time?
Yeah, correct.
I don't know. Keep me on here as long as I can, bro. I'm not trying to die. Even if I'm just like a head in a jar like Futurama. Yeah, baby.
In a jar?
Yeah, isn't that Futurama?
Oh,
you ever seen Futurama?
No, I thought you were talking about a product.
A high school student in Ohio is going to miss out on her senior prom after she got suspended for bringing a bag of blank to school. A high school student in Ohio will miss out on her senior prom after getting suspended over bringing a bag of blank
cocaine
to school.
Nerf guns.
Dookie.
So
meth?
We're going meth, crap, Nerf guns, and what did you say? Cocaine?
Yeah.
Ooh, you guys were close. Corn chips.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
The snack was not permitted because a teacher was severely allergic to them, and there are signs detailing the rule, and parents and students did sign a form acknowledging it. Yeah. So the students signed the form and still brought corn chips to the school, and they are suspending her.
That damn form.
Yeah, what?
Well, it's like, was she trying to like plant them in the teacher's lunch or something?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Corn chips whale.
Sauce, you and I say this about twice a year on this show.
We do?
Yeah, we do. But if you haven't had Fritos in about 9 months, you crack open a bag and you're like, why don't I get these all the time? Then your breath smells terrible, right? You get corn chip breath.
Good, though.
And you're going, God dang it. And then it's about a calendar year and you go, I haven't had Fritos in a year.
Yeah, they have them at the spot downstairs.
They're so good.
And I almost got them, but I'm like, you flip that thing over and, I mean, not that it looks like I've looked at a lot of nutritional facts, but they are horrific for you.
Like, who cares?
They're like 400 calories for a small bag of
worth every calorie.
They're so good. And the chili cheese ones are great too.
Yeah. Elite.
Yeah, elite.
Gross. Or if you put them on top of some chili with cheese.
Yeah. As long as the chili
cooking.
doesn't have beans in it.
Yeah, I
Parker,
agree.
you're from a different generation, but I hope and I'm going to cross my fingers. You've seen the original Willy Wonka, the one from the 70s?
Yeah,
okay,
course,
gotcha. That's the OG. It's the best one, and it's not even close.
Cheer up, Charlie.
Chalamet was solid, but he's not my Wonka.
Zacko?
Hashtag not
disagree.
my Wonka.
The only Wonka is Gene Wilder. Point is, the kid who played Charlie in the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Peter Ostrom was his name. He never did a movie before or after.
Wow.
Crazy. One hit wonder.
Wow.
Nailed it. Ended up being a veterinarian in New York. He's 66 and retired. Oh. He says he gets a royalty check every 3 months for Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. How much does Charlie, Peter Ostrom, get every 3 months for Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? What does he make every 3 months? Sauce, you go first.
Well, it's weird because it's one of these bits that every time we do one of these, someone will say it. Now I'm going to be the guy to say it. It's either like 16 cents or 30 grand. I'm going to say he gets $15.
$15 every 3 months. Parker.
Let's go. I was the same deal. I don't know. I feel like you guys got the leg up on me here. You got some background knowledge of this. I'll go with the 16 cents option.
You're going to go 16 cents. Zacko.
I'm going to go 30 grand and 16 cents.
30 grand and 16 cents. Kind of piggybacking. Sauce. God, he piggybacked you.
That's all right.
Oh, man, you love piggybacking.
Yes.
Max.
I'll go with like somewhere kind of in the middle. I'd say like 300.
$300. Sauce, you guessed $15.
Yeah.
You were off by 50%.
He makes $30.
10. He makes $10. 10% of 50% of 10 is 5, so you missed it by $5.
$10?
$10 every 3 months he gets for Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
I mean,
buy a Wonka bar.
Yeah,
what
just one.
You only need one.
I had a substitute teacher who was in, I guess, one of the more popular episodes of MASH. And he would get a $50 check like every 3 months and would take his wife out to dinner.
Well, our guy, Dave Ryan, is in Jingle All the Way. His voice is, right?
I don't know.
I think they turned, I've never seen it either, but I think in one of the scenes, KDWB is on while they're driving to get the Lightning Man or whatever it's called. And he posts it, but he gets like 17 cents a year.
That's pretty hot.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino is ditching The Movie Critic. That was supposed to be his 10th and final film. So, according to sources, he's not skipping his last film. He's still going to do one more, but it's not going to be this one. He's going to come up with a different idea.
Really?
It's weird because they just like within the last couple months announced all the casting and stuff. Like Tom Cruise was supposed to be in it. I guess Brad Pitt was going to be his character from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and all that. So it seemed like it was pretty far along for him to just be like, nah,
right.
I'm good.
I thought the same thing yesterday when I saw it. I was like, isn't this in like post-production?
Guess not.
And maybe he's just going for the money thing and he's just going to do Kill Bill 3 and call it a day.
Has anybody ever seen his teeth? I think he always just kind of does the smile. I don't know if I've ever seen Quentin Tarantino's teeth.
He does make that face. That's fair.
He does. That's a good point.
Brian Cox from Succession says Joaquin Phoenix was terrible in Napoleon. He said it was terrible.
Really?
Yeah.
I've
Ripped
never
the hell
seen
out
it.
of it.
I don't know.
Max, didn't you see it?
No. Hawk ended up seeing it. I didn't. Hawk's review wasn't that great, which is always an indictment on a movie. So I didn't end up going to see it, but I wanted to. But yeah, it did not get good reviews on Joaquin's part, or I believe that was a Ridley Scott bit.
Parker Fox, does Conan O'Brien do anything for you, or is that just a generational miss?
Yeah, I mean, I know the name.
Got it.
It's
He turns 61 today. He's the GOAT. I would highly recommend diving into his new show. Not only is he 61 today, his new show, Conan O'Brien Must Go, debuts on Max, HBO Max. So, travel show. Oh, yeah. Can't wait, man.
Did you see him on Hot Ones?
I saw the clips that went viral.
Yeah, he's been viral for days now, like a whole
badass.
week. Yeah,
well, so
I've never seen that show.
He goes on Hot Ones and pretty much kills it, right? He basically says, bring it on.
Right.
And then this weird just wave of positive Conan O'Brien stories just floods the internet for like 48 hours. Everybody just telling stories about how great Conan O'Brien is. Yeah. There was a guy that said he interned for Conan as like a production assistant. He said there's like 20 or 25 production assistants for the summer. And he said it's pretty standard for you not to run into Conan. It's just, you don't work directly with him.
Yeah.
And the story was basically on day 1 or 2, when he was introducing himself to all of them for the summer, he shook one of their hands and was like, "Don't steal anything from me." Sarcastically, right?
Yeah.
And then 4 months later, he hadn't seen Conan, hadn't talked to him. They didn't form a friendship, all that stuff. And at the goodbye meeting, he's saying goodbye to all of them, and he's shaking all their hands, and he stares the same kid right in the end. And he goes, "I know you stole from me."
Brilliant.
It was a 4-month joke.
Yeah, that's
just waited
funny,
4 months to tell the kid, "I know you stole from me."
That's funny.
It's like the Dumb and Dumber one.
Yeah.
God, I love Conan O'Brien. I will definitely be checking that out either today or this weekend. Actually, I'm super busy today. I got to draft somebody in Program Password at 1.
Yeah.
I got other stuff going on.
Yeah.
But this weekend, maybe. Let's end on this. Last but not least, a person pretending to be Aaron Rodgers conned a gullible woman in Ohio.
What?
She thought she was talking to Aaron for months online. She was confident it was him because the profile picture had a photo of Aaron Rodgers wearing a Green Bay Packers hat. And he was, quote, talking personally about himself, even with details. She was so sure that he was legit that she gave Aaron Rodgers her driver's license number, her social security number, and bank account details.
Come on.
She got conned on something called Viber.
Oh.
A messaging app called Viber. I'm not familiar with Viber.
What is that?
Anybody know Viber?
I don't know Viber.
I'm about to know Viber.
Viber.
I've never heard of that.
That's hot.
No.
That's hot.
She's clearly never heard of Monte Teo
Yeah.
either. So
Yeah.
It says free and secure calls, not so secure.
Aaron.
Wearing a Packers hat.
She's not going to have to worry about other people scamming her while she's getting scammed. So
That's a good point.
Good point.
Yeah, that's the bright side of it. Good point, Zacho.
Parker, do you have class today?
No, I took 8 terms, so I'm just chilling for the rest of the semester.
Man, it's good to be 8-year senior Parker
Feels
Fox.
good. I might go to Al's breakfast. Who knows?
Hell yeah, man. I'd
Get
join
Sauce's order.
Yeah. That's not that much.
Why can't you go to breakfast with Parker?
I would. I got that bit with Lieber.
Look, Greg Doyle clearly wants to be friends with Caitlin Clark. Why don't you try to be friends with Parker and take him out to breakfast?
I'm already friends with Parker.
And how
Wait,
about
I
you
have to
pay?
buy?
It's NIL.
Can I buy?
If you want to be seen next to him, you have to use his name, image, and likeness.
We can do that.
I can buy,
that little pay it forward.
Yeah, I can't go today though. I'm busy.
Well, next time we'll go. We'll do.
What do you have to do?
I have 3 meetings today and a password draft.
3 meetings?
I doubt it.
I'm moving and shaking, man. I got stuff going on.
At least they contact you.
Would you just take the kid to breakfast?
Can't.
You're playing MLB The Show, aren't you? You're picking a video game over.
Yeah.
You're picking a video game over Parker and breakfast, aren't you?
The only people I wouldn't pick a video game over are my wife and Muppet.
Okay.
It's not the first time.
At some point, we're going to get you into play initials. But tomorrow, Brian O'Neill, Pro Bowl tackle of the Minnesota Vikings, makes his power trip and initials game debut at 8:15. We're back tomorrow, 5:30 to 9. Thanks to Parker Fox. Thanks to Micah Nori. Thanks to Ben Lieber. 9 to noon is next.
Listen back to today's Power Trip Morning Show or to hear previous shows, podcast us on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.